everyone, this is the Movie Maniac, and today we are talking about the latest movie written and directed by Luc Besson, Anna. It stars Sasha, Luss, Luke Evans, Cillian Murphy, and Helen Mirren. To even begin explaining the plot to this movie would be absurd, because there's so much of it. The best I'll tell you is that it's about a girl who is recruited by the Russians to be an assassin, and in the process, American intelligence is onto her, and she gets caught in the mix between the two. Now, I have been an avid defender of Luc Besson. I put The Fifth Element and Leon the Professional in my top 100 favorite movies of all time list. And even his films from the past 10 years that he wasn't necessarily a director of, but he was more the writer, producer, I've defended. So I have been on Team Besson for a while now. I went into this, believe me, I am primed to accept it. One thing I can tell you is the kinetic energy and excitement that's present in the trailer is nowhere to be found in the movie. This thing flounders around for 2 hours, has terrible pacing, because in the first 40 minutes, it goes from 1985, 5 years later, 3 years earlier, 3 years later, 6 months earlier, and this is not an exaggeration. You are truly going to be jerked around that entire duration of time. There's a good 20 minutes or so where we think he's done with this, and then it rears its ugly head around the corner, and as I'm sure you can imagine, it takes what would otherwise be an evenly paced film and totally shatters it. The performances are all fine, everyone's serviceable, no one particularly stands out except for Helen Mirren's character. She does everything she can to make sure that it's memorable. Unfortunately, she's not given a whole lot of interesting things to do, except for one little twist at the tail end of the picture, which I won't reveal, obviously, but it's just not enough. And it's not her fault, it's just this absolutely lazy, possibly first draft script. What's even more frustrating is that there are points in this film where you can actually see a Luc Besson movie glimmer every once in a while. There's a scene in a restaurant, which is featured in the trailer, and that's pretty solid. That's actually what the audience is there paying to see. There's a montage later in the movie that shows Anna going around killing a bunch of targets that she has, and you can tell that has a bit of his flavor as well. It's sprinkled in here and there during this absolute chopped up mess of a movie. One thing I loved about Besson is that he always took risks. He always made films that I thought were dangerous, that made you question what the hell you're watching, and is he getting away with this? How far is he willing to push the envelope? And it is all seems to be missing from Anna. So I'm going to give you a recommendation. Instead of sitting down and watching Anna, go see Atomic Blonde, because that film does Anna better than Anna does Anna. I don't know if maybe that's what inspired this picture that he's doing. He saw Atomic Blonde and thought he could do something similar, but he went about it the entire wrong way, whereas there's actually some great filmmaking on display in Atomic Blonde. And that's another movie I gave a big recommendation to. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out if that's your cup of tea. But this one just feels like an error. But at the same time, I have faith that he can turn things around, and then the next movie that we get will be a pretty good film. Nobody's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes from time to time. I think this is one of them. Guys, I'm going to give Anna a 5 out of 10. And again, one of the truly frustrating parts of Anna is that it has all the ingredients of a worthy Luc Besson film, but he just doesn't pull it together. And it's not like a little bit of a hiccup here and there. The entire picture is a giant mess. Guys, what did you think of Anna? Because I actually thought this was an infuriating experience. Look, I was there and defended Lockout because it was an okay midnight B-movie sci-fi thriller. I defended 3 Days to Kill, even though it was a shell game between these three different genres of action, romance, and drama, and tonally it just switched back and forth. I completely defended From Paris with Love, because after the first 20 minutes of that movie, it just took off like a roller coaster. John Travolta as Charlie Wax, giving his whole new flavor to what we haven't seen before. I mean, him being a loose cannon, it was a blast. It took me back to some of the action in movies like The Replacement Killers and whatnot. So I have been there even for his movies that have been horribly panned by people. So I want to defend Anna. I want to be there on the front lines and telling you, you know what, even though you've got other big movies coming out, make sure to work this one in. I can't do it. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay inside the mind of a movie maniac.